Before becoming a TV superstar, Steve Harvey worked as a boxer, auto worker, insurance salesman, carpet cleaner, and mailman. His journey from broke to billionaire will inspire you and prove that every job you take is preparing you for the success you're meant to achieve. It was 1979, and 22-year-old Steve Harvey stood in the unemployment line in Cleveland, Ohio, holding his fifth pink slip in 2 years, and wondering if he would ever find stability in his working life. What Steve didn't know was that each of these seemingly dead-end jobs was actually preparing him for the extraordinary success that lay ahead, teaching him skills and lessons that would eventually make him one of the most beloved entertainers in America. Steve's journey through multiple careers began not by choice, but by necessity. Growing up in a working-class family, where his father worked at a coal company and his mother cleaned houses, Steve understood from an early age that survival meant being willing to work any job available, regardless of whether it matched his dreams or ambitions. I wasn't working all these different jobs because I couldn't make up my mind about what I wanted to do, Steve would later reflect. I was working these jobs because I had to eat, I had bills to pay, and I had a family to support. But every single job taught me something that I would use later in my entertainment career. Steve's first job after high school was as a boxer, fighting in small venues around Cleveland and trying to make a name for himself in the ring. Boxing appealed to Steve because it seemed to offer a path to fame and fortune that didn't require a college education or special connections. I thought boxing would be my ticket out, Steve recalled. I was young, I was strong, and I had the kind of hunger that you need to succeed in the ring. For 2 years, Steve trained intensively, fought in amateur competitions, and dreamed of turning professional. He learned discipline, mental toughness, and the ability to take hits and keep fighting sigils that would prove invaluable in his later career in entertainment. But Steve's boxing career came to an abrupt end when he realized he didn't have the natural talent necessary to compete at higher levels. I could fight, but I wasn't going to be Muhammad Ali, Steve admitted. I had the heart, but I didn't have the gift. The day I realized that was the day I had to find a new way to make a living. Steve's next job was at Ford Motor Company's Cleveland plant, where he worked on the assembly line installing parts in cars as they moved down the production line. The work was physically demanding, repetitive and mind-numbing, but it paid better than anything Steve had ever done before. Working at Ford taught me the value of showing up every day and doing your job, even when you don't feel like it, Steve said. I learned that consistency and reliability are just as important as talent in achieving success. Steve worked the night shift at Ford, which meant he was awake all night installing the same car parts over and over again, then trying to sleep during the day. The schedule was exhausting, but it also gave Steve something unexpected: time to think about what he really wanted to do with his life. During those long nights on the assembly line, I had hours to think about my dreams, Steve remembered. I started imagining myself making people laugh, being on stage, having my own TV show. The assembly line was where I first seriously considered comedy as a career. After 2 years at Ford, Steve was laid off when the plant reduced its workforce due to declining car sales. Once again, he found himself looking for work, but this time he decided to try something completely different. Sales. Steve took a job selling insurance for a small company in Cleveland, going door to door trying to convince people to buy life insurance policies. It was challenging work that required him to face constant rejection, but it also taught him crucial skills about communication, persuasion, and connecting with people. Selling insurance taught me how to read people, how to understand what they need, and how to present myself in a way that makes people trust me, Steve explained. Every door I knocked on was like a little performance. I had to be likable, believable, and persistent. The insurance job also taught Steve how to handle rejection without taking it personally, a skill that would be essential in his comedy career. When someone slams the door in your face because they don't want to buy insurance, you can't take that as a personal insult, Steve said. You have to dust yourself off and knock on the next door. Comedy is the same way. Not everyone is going to laugh at your jokes, but you can't let that stop you from trying. Steve's insurance career lasted about 18 months before he was let go for not meeting his sales quotas. Once again, he found himself looking for work, and once again, he was willing to take whatever job he could find. His next position was as a carpet cleaner for a small cleaning service that worked in offices and homes throughout Cleveland. Steve would arrive at work early in the morning, load cleaning supplies and equipment into a van, and spend his days on his hands and knees cleaning carpets in other people's spaces. Cleaning carpets was probably the most humbling job I ever had, Steve reflected. You're literally crawling around on the floor, scrubbing out other people's messes, and most of the time people don't even acknowledge you're there. But the carpet cleaning job taught Steve important lessons about service, humility, and the dignity that comes from honest work. I learned that there's no shame in any honest job, Steve said. Whether you're cleaning carpets or hosting a TV show, work is work, and if you do it with pride and integrity, it has value. The carpet cleaning job also gave Steve insights into human nature that he would later use in his comedy and television career. When you're cleaning carpets in people's homes and offices, you see them when they think no one important is watching, Steve observed. You learn about human behavior, about how people treat service workers, about the difference between how people present themselves publicly and how they act privately. After a year of carpet cleaning, Steve took what would be his final job before pursuing entertainment full-time, working as a mailman for the United States Postal Service. The postal job appealed to Steve because it offered stability, decent pay, and government benefits. It also allowed him to work during the day and pursue comedy at night, something that hadn't been possible with his previous jobs. Being a mailman was perfect for someone trying to break into comedy, Steve explained. I worked my route during the day, and I was free in the evenings to perform at comedy clubs and work on my material. The postal job taught Steve about reliability, attention to detail, and the importance of serving the public. It also gave him daily interaction with people throughout his neighborhood, experiences that enriched his understanding of human nature and provided material for his comedy routines. Walking a mail route, you get to know entire neighborhoods, Steve said. You see the same people every day. You learn their stories, you become part of their lives. All of that human connection made me a better comedian because I understood what regular people were going through. Throughout all of these jobs, Steve never lost sight of his dream of becoming a comedian. He spent his free time writing jokes, practicing in front of mirrors, and looking for opportunities to perform at local clubs and open mic nights. Every job I worked, I was still dreaming about comedy, Steve said. I would practice my routines while I was boxing, while I was installing car parts, while I was cleaning carpets. The jobs were paying my bills, but comedy was feeding my soul. The breakthrough came in 1985, when Steve decided to take a massive leap of faith. He had been working as a mailman for 2 years and performing comedy on nights and weekends when he heard about a comedy competition at a club in downtown Cleveland. The competition offered a $50 first prize and the chance to perform regularly at the club. For Steve, it represented the opportunity he had been preparing for through all of his various jobs. I realized that all the skills I had learned in my other jobs were actually preparing me for comedy, Steve said. The discipline from boxing, the work ethic from the factory, the communication skills from selling insurance, the humility from cleaning carpets, and the people skills from being a mailman, all of it was coming together. Steve won the comedy competition and was offered a regular spot at the club. It was the beginning of the career that would eventually make him a household name, but it almost didn't happen. The night of that competition, I had to choose between going to work the next day as a mailman or pursuing comedy full-time. Steve remembered. I chose comedy, which meant giving up the steady paycheck and the security of the postal job. Steve's decision to leave his mailman job and pursue comedy full-time was terrifying, but it was also liberating. For the first time in my adult life, I was doing work that I loved, instead of just work that paid the bills, Steve said. But I never regretted those other jobs, because each one taught me something that made me better at what I was meant to do. The lessons Steve learned from his 5 jobs became the foundation of his success in entertainment. From boxing, he learned mental toughness and the ability to take hits and keep fighting, minor skills that were essential during the early years of his comedy career, when he faced constant rejection and financial struggle. From factory work, he learned the importance of showing up consistently and doing the work even when he didn't feel like it, a discipline that served him well during long tours and demanding television production schedules. From insurance sales, he learned how to connect with people, handle rejection, and present himself in a trustworthy way, skills that made him effective as a comedian and television host. From carpet cleaning, he learned humility and the dignity of service, Maid's values that kept him grounded even as he achieved fame and fortune. From postal work, he learned reliability and attention to detail. Every job I had was preparing me for the job I was meant to have. Steve often tells audiences, "I didn't know it at the time, but God was using those experiences to build the skills and character I would need to succeed in entertainment." Steve's journey from multiple jobs to television stardom took over a decade, but his willingness to work any honest job while pursuing his dreams eventually paid off in ways he never could have imagined. Today, Steve Harvey is worth over $200 million and hosts multiple television shows, but he never forgets the lessons he learned from boxing, factory work, insurance sales, carpet cleaning, and delivering mail. "Those jobs didn't just pay my bills," Steve reflects. "They built my character, taught me about people, and prepared me for success. I'm grateful for every single one of them, because they made me who I am today." Steve's story has inspired millions of people who are working jobs they don't love while pursuing dreams that seem impossible. His message is simple but powerful. Every job has value. Every experience teaches you something, and your current circumstances don't determine your future possibilities. If you're working a job you don't love while chasing a dream, don't be discouraged, Steve advises. Use that job to build skills, develop character, and prepare yourself for the success that's coming. Your breakthrough might be just around the corner, but it's the job you have today that's preparing you for the job you're meant to have tomorrow. If this incredible story of persistence and the journey from multiple jobs to stardom moved you, please subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who's working hard at a job they don't love while chasing their dreams. Have you ever worked multiple jobs while pursuing a bigger goal? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for more inspiring stories about the power of persistence and the value of every honest job you do while building toward your dreams.